previous tour in the city of St. Louis in their South Patrol, or I'm sorry, in the 6th District. When not at work, Steve enjoys time he's able to spend with his 3-year-old son, Lincoln. Steve also enjoys being in the gym, doing jujitsu, teaching defensive tactics for our police department, and recently taking up golf, which is a big work in progress. He has stepped up in our officer safety role-play trainings and also as our defensive tactics instructor, which is highly valuable in our department as we try and help our officers tend with the people that they deal with in our streets. So congratulations, Steve.
I would simply suggest that if you're teaching Chief how to golf, you might want to also teach him to use the word "for" quite a bit.
Next on the list is our, each year, the police department selects an officer of the year. Javi, will you come forward, please? Officer Javi, as he's affectionately known. Talk about big personalities. Javi is a guy that every room he walks into, he makes a friend. And, he's a lot of fun to have around our station, and the schools have absolutely received him and embraced him as both as a police officer that protects them and as a person. Javi was born in Bosnia. He is a concentration camp and genocide survivor of the Bosnian-Serbian War. His family immigrated into the United States in the early 2000s. He spent his teen years and most of his 20s in New Britain, Connecticut, where he learned English and Spanish with the goal of working in public safety. Javi is married to his wife, Kate, and is the proud father of twin daughters, Amelia and Alexandra, who we hear about often. They have kept him busy and been an incredible addition to his family. Javi has worked many jobs in the public safety field, including working as a corrections officer and a police officer with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department prior to receiving the opportunity to work here with the Brentwood Police Department. He currently holds the role of SRO and juvenile detective for our department. Congratulations as Officer of the Year.
Thank you for your service, everybody. Next up is citizen comments. Anybody in the public care to address the board, now is the time to do so. All we ask is that you come to the podium, state your name and your address, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody online, Kelly?
No, sir, there's no one online.
All right, then we will move on to mayor and alderman reports. First up is the mayor report, just a couple of things. First of all, we've weathered the storm. Last time we had our aldermanic meeting, we had to Zoom it because of the weather on that, whatever, January 6th, I think it was, maybe. And I know our crews were out working very hard the following week and got our streets clean, and we should be very proud of the effort that they did. When comparing them to, and I'm not trying to throw a certain metropolitan city under the bus, but when you hear about all the stories about the city of St. Louis and how they just made a decision not to plow streets. And I was talking to somebody in my office who lives in St. Louis Hills, and he was saying, well, they can't, you understand, because the streets are so narrow, and the cars park on both sides of the street, and you can't get a plow truck down there. And I said, well, that's kind of funny. I measured Rosalie, and it's the same width as these streets that you're talking about in the city. You know what? And they park on both sides on Rosalie, and that street got plowed. So I know it's not because of some fear that they can't plow, and also they said because of speed humps, we have speed tables, we plow. So it's just another testament to the level of service that is provided to the residents here by our wonderful employees. and their dedication. And I also noticed this morning, that same resident was telling me that his trash won't get picked up because if there's 6 inches or more of snow, or if the temperature is 10 degrees or lower, the city residents do not get trash service. And so my wife called me this morning and said her car was dead at Litzinger and high school. So I said, okay, let me come and pick you up. And as I'm driving, I noticed on my car it said 0 degrees. And I also noticed we had trash trucks coming down high school picking up. So once again, the level of service that is provided by our employees should never be taken for granted. They do an absolutely fantastic job. The second thing was St. Louis County is taking up the issue of trying to put on the ballot for this April a countywide use tax. And the clock is ticking for them because, as you all know, you're experts in this, I'm sure, that a decision has to be made by January 28th for anything to go on the ballot for the April election. And they're supposed to have a reading on that tonight. They had a meeting this afternoon on that. And if it passes, it would generate, at a minimum, $65 million in new revenue to the county that would go into their general fund. And it would generate for the city of Brentwood approximately about close to $500,000. But it's, like I said, the clock is ticking. There hasn't been much of a push. And so I don't know if it's going to get on the ballot, and if it does, how successful it's going to be. But I will keep you apprised of anything that goes on there. And finally, the last thing I have is a congratulations to a former employee of Brentwood, Kyle Allen, who I'm sure we could hear him yelling last night as his beloved, the Ohio State Buckeyes won the national championship over Notre Dame. So congratulations to Kyle. I told him that I would be mentioning him tonight, so he's probably watching. Congratulations, Kyle. Well deserved on your beloved Buckeyes. So with that, we'll move on to Alderman Plufka.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public Safety will meet here tomorrow night at 5:30.
Alderwoman Tice.
No report.
Alderwoman Sims.
No report.
Alderman Weggie. Alderman Lockmuller.
Next Tuesday, Ward 3 meeting will be over at the Rec Center at 6:30. That'd be January the 28th. Thanks.
Alderman Gould.
So we also have a little bit of an overlap with the Ward 3 meeting. So the Communications Committee meeting starts at 6 o'clock here in this chambers. Should be relatively light, so I'm hoping I can get over and join the Ward 3 meeting right at 6:30. So if you're interested, come and join for the Communications Committee meeting and then head over and we can go to the Ward 3 meeting together.
Alderman Erger.
No report.
Or Alderwoman Harder. Alderman Erger.
Yeah, real quick, the next Brentwood Forest Board meeting is next Tuesday at 6 p.m. in the clubhouse. Thank you.
Thank you. Brings us down to City Administrator report. Looks like we have nothing under the City Administrator. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 6 items. Are there any questions about any of these items or any request to remove any of these items off the consent agenda? If not, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka. Yes. Alderwoman Tice.
Yes.
Alderman Weggie. Yes. Alderwoman Sims.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes.
Alderman Gould.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder.
Yes.
Alderman Erger.
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you. Brings us down to old business. We have only one item, and that is Bill number 6539. Could we get a second read by title only, please?
An ordinance of the City of Brentwood, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute the attached user agreement for subscriber radios with St. Louis County Emergency Communications Commission and providing for the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6539 in ordinance form.
So moved?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka.
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice.
Yes.
Alderman Weggie.
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims.
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller.
Yes.
Alderman Gould.
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder.
Yes.
Alderman Erger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Oh, well, let's see, by a vote of 8-0. Let's see. Bill 6539 will become ordinance number 5167.
Great, thank you. And that brings us down to new business. We have two items. The first up is Bill number 6540. Can we get a first read by title only, please?
An ordinance approving an agreement with Diligent Corporation for Diligent Community Package, a community platform, committee manager, and committees and policy publisher.
Okay. Who is presenting on that?
I guess I am. This is an upgrade to the Board Docs platform it's called Diligent Community, which is the new platform. It's designed to enhance the efficiency with a more modern interface. And it kind of looks more like a website, in my opinion. It's easier to navigate, easier to get around for everybody to use. It has an improved search feature. It's mobile compatible now, and it has a better agenda builder. So I think we're going to find that we're going to kind of like this new platform. The migration of the current information is done by Diligent. They do all of the migration of the current information. And if it's approved, that migration will start in March. It takes about 90 days to do the full process from migration of information to implementation and training. So it should be a very seamless process. It's pretty easy to do. And we'll let you know, obviously, if there's any trainings, there are things that you can attend. The cost of the upgrade is $2,000 more per year than what we currently pay for Board Docs. And so the recommendation would be to move to the advanced platform.
The Board Docs was 12,000.
Board Docs was 12,
Oh, okay.
and the new one will be 14,000.
Okay, wonderful. Any questions? And we are wanting a second read on this, I saw.
Please.
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, can we get a second read of Bill number 6540 by title only, please?
An ordinance approving an agreement with Diligent Corporation for Diligent Community Package, a community platform, committee manager, and committees and policy publisher.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to perfect Bill number 6540 into ordinance form.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka? Yes. Alderwoman Tice? Yes. Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderman Erger?
Yes.
By a vote of 8-0, Bill 6540 will become ordinance number 5168.
Thank you. The last item under new business is a discussion, and that is the City of Brentwood, Missouri is seeking an innovative partner to redevelop the site on Brentwood Boulevard that currently consists of City Hall, a branch post office, and 4 adjacent lots to the east. The city would like to reimagine its civic center, expand its capacity to house the police department, replace the outdated post office facility, and reinvigorate the area by a creative marriage of civic and retail activity in a mixed-use development. Visionary developers are invited to submit proposals addressed to Brentwood City Administrator. So with this, I'm going to turn it over to Alderman Plufka.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank our city attorney and city administrator for drafting this language, although it sounds a little bit like a personals ad, like, quaint, mid-county facility seeks, I don't know, for long-term relationship or something like that. I don't know. So, but this gets the spirit of it. I don't have any illusions that we're going to get, that this is going to be an attractive way to redevelop for a developer. I just know that given our debt service, given the other things that we're already committed to and are going to be committed to over the next couple of years, we don't have, a lot of money to spend on trying to reimagine what our city center might look like in 5 years or in 10 years. I just thought of this as a way to perhaps start that process, and maybe we find a developer who has an innovative idea or set of ideas that's something we can build on going forward. This proposal doesn't cost us anything. If the RFP goes out and there are no takers by March 31st, then it simply goes away, and we're not spending any money or committing any money to this. It's just a chance to see if there is any appetite out there for some kind of developer-led redevelopment of this footprint, of this part of the city. And that's all I was trying to do, was to maybe spark some ideas, and maybe it does, and maybe it doesn't.
Okay, so before we have any discussion on this, I think probably the best way to do this procedurally is to get a motion and a second. So,
I make the motion that we direct the city staff to put out an RFP that explains, it's consistent with the language in this discussion, what we want to accomplish.
okay, do we have a second?
Second. Second.
Okay, wonderful. So let's open up for discussion. Yes, Alderman Lockmuller. If you can, is your microphone on? I'm sorry, Steve. There you go, thank you.
Yeah, as soon as I said RFP, I think I did mean RFQ.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I apologize.
Anybody else? Any other discussion on this? Again, there's really, I don't think, any financial commitment at this point. It is just simply throwing it out there and seeing what kind of response that we get. Yes, Alderman
Has
Harder.
the school district had any more interest, or, I know you had brought that up, that,
That's a great question, and because that was one of the discussions, one of the points that Alderman Plufka and I discussed, along with the city administrator and the city attorney when we talked about this last week. I have not heard anything more from the school district about any desire to go down there. But in saying that, I'm not suggesting that it's out of the
I
question.
mean, it's a great location in
Right.
between all the schools.
Right,
so
and I'm not trying to speak for Alderman Plufka, but I think the whole idea is, let's throw it out there, let's see what happens. We might get 3-4 parties that work jointly on something. Yeah, who knows?
No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Every now and then, yeah, Alderman Gould.
I don't have any issue with putting feelers out there and seeing if anybody would come to the table. I don't know that I would necessarily suggest the relocation of the police department in it. I think that's something we discussed. I think that, especially since given our recent purchase and the future site of the Public Works facility, with that being directly across the street, there's some symbiotic relationship there that I think would be nice. And so, especially if it's a development with the intent that you would have potentially some retail, area that could also be incorporated into it, I think that might interest a developer more than taking up the whole space with, like, moving the police department here.
That's the language that, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I?
No, go right ahead,
respond?
yeah.
That's the language that we talked about the most, because we didn't want it to say, bring the entire police department into this space. It could be that a developer says, let's put in police space sufficient for a satellite,
A substation.
a substation, or something like that.
Okay.
Or no presence at all. I mean, it's not, we weren't trying to overly direct, what a developer might do. We tried to give them as broad a parameters as we possibly could, trying to spark, imagination more than anything else.
Anybody else? Alderman Tice.
So Alderman Plufka and I have spoken about this previously, and I'll ask the question I asked you when we spoke about before. Have you, why doesn't every city do this? And have you seen this done in other locations specifically on a footprint as small as this one?
No, the closest I can tell you that this has been done is the city of Kirkwood in the redevelopment, not the recent redevelopment next to the Alpine Shop, but the older redevelopment that is really kitty corner across from City Hall. There is city space in that retail footprint that's also, I think it's 4 stories, but I don't know for sure. But it's next to their sort of town square where they have a fountain and there's an open space and then there's retail and apartments. And then to the south of that is the parcel I'm talking about that actually has meeting rooms that the city uses. That's the only example I know of, but it's a much bigger footprint than what we have surrounding us right now. So I don't know that the scale, maybe it turns out that the scale of this is small enough that it won't, as a practical matter, entice a developer. And maybe that's the answer. I don't know, but I just thought, let's try and see.
Alderman Weggie.
Oh, turn it off. It's on. Oh.
Yeah, I'm in favor of this. I mean, it's what if, and you know, Sharon, to your question about the school, I don't think this precludes any plans with the school. You know, we're still thinking through all of that. I think it's worth throwing it out there and seeing something that happens. I would ask that we communicate very clearly and crisply about what this is, to avoid some of the miscommunications we've had in the past about redevelopment in this area. Just, you know, what we're doing here and why we're doing it, and what we're expecting to see and what we're maybe not expecting to see. Just to be very clear about that going forward.
I think that's a great idea, and I think we'll be talking, if the board decides to move forward with this, I think we'll definitely talk to Michelle about how best to get the word out.
Thank you.
So there's no misunderstanding.
Good idea.
Okay, anybody else? Do we need a roll call on this, or a voice vote good enough, Mr. City Attorney? Voice vote's fine? Okay. So the motion is to move forward with the RFQ as indicated by Alderman Plufka. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries by vote of 8-0. So thank you. Brings us down to citizen comments. Once again, if anybody in the public cares to address the board, now is the time to do so. We ask that you come to the podium and state your name and your address, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes. No one
has-
online?
No one has their hand raised online.
Okay. I do have a request for us to go into closed session tonight pursuant to RSMO 610.021 subsection 3 personnel. Can we get a motion, and we will get a motion to that effect, and we will adjourn therefrom.
I make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderwoman Tice? Yes. Alderman Weggie?
Yes.
Alderwoman Sims?
Yes.
Alderman Lockmiller?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Alderman Erger?
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 8-0.